Good morning, everyone. Good morning, students. Namaskar, Subha Bakhair, Suprabhat, Vadakkam, Sasriyakal. Uh, I hope you all are doing well and you are studying very hard to achieve your goal. That is to become a CA. So, I am C. Ankit Sharma, your income tax faculty for the session. Today, we will be discussing the salary revision class in which you can ask your query. And that is technically not a lecture. Today, we are actually going to have an interaction class also. So you all know that from 9 o'clock, you can ask your queries. Till that, we are going to discuss something regarding salary. The overview of the chapter, some MCQs, some question. So you will be able to understand how to solve these questions in the examination. And let me tell you, in 5 heads of income, the salary, the capital gain, and the PGBP, these 3 heads are gigantic, having huge provisions, multiple permutation combination of provision. And the other 2 heads, they are not that gigantic, but still they are very important, like income from house property and income from other sources. So today we will be discussing salary provision. One by one, we will take the concept. And I believe that you all have already watched the downloaded classes or the recorded classes regarding the salary topic. It's very, very, very important. Please, it's a request from my side that before joining these revision classes, you have to watch the all lectures which already have been uploaded on the portal. And when I say all lectures, that means all lectures in detail. So whatever the faculty is saying, whatever the faculty is discussing in those lectures, or solving questions, MCQ, you have to watch each and everything. Don't do it on 1.5 or 2x speed. Be remember that you should watch that at normal speed. So you will be able to understand today lecture and you will be able to understand all the previous lectures. So once again, I welcome all of you. And before starting the salary topic, there is some, I believe there is, these rules should be followed by you before watching these classes. First of all, revision is the key to success. If you are not going to revise the provisions, that will be really difficult for you to attempt the questions in the examination. So whatever you have studied, whatever the course, whenever you have completed your chapter, etc., that's a very good part, but still you have to revise them. Without revisions, I do not believe that the efforts will come into that way that they will be able to give you what you desire from your study. So please follow these guidelines. First is kindly watch all previous lectures in detail with all question MCQs as discussed related to revision class. All queries will be taken at 9 a.m. You can send me your queries regarding the topic what we are going to discuss from I'm going to discuss with you one by one, but you will be unmute at 9 a.m. for that interaction or interactive queries. Please turn on your video if possible when you ask your query. Please focus during lecture and ask queries related to topic only. That's very important. A very important word in this sentence is focus. That is the most important word in your life this time. If you are focused for your career, if you are focused for your future, if you are focused for your studies, you will achieve whatever you want. And please ask your queries which are related to topic. Kindly download notes before lecture for better understanding. I believe you must have done that, of course. All the notes, MCQs, etc. has been uploaded on the portal. Fifth point is also if anyone wanted to ask any query in Hindi, like our medium is in English, of course. So all the queries, all the provision will be discussed in English. But if any one of you want to ask any query in Hindi, you definitely very welcome to ask and I will answer that query in Hindi. And except that all queries will be answered in English. ठीक है? तो हम start कर रहे हैं अपना पहला topic, that is salary. Before starting that topic, we all know what is the meaning of salary. I guess there is meaning of salary, the basis. When any income is going to be taxable, under the head salary income. So we all know there must be an employer and employee relationship. Clear? So if the payer is employer and if the payee is employee, then that payment which will flow from the payer to the payee will be called salary. Clear? That's the basic of salary chapter. So if in the examination the payment has been made by someone to any other person, but if there is no relationship of payer and payee exit, that resemble to master and servant. So if this relationship does not fulfill, then that payment cannot be said salary. So if there is a relationship of payer and payee, master and servant, that will be called employer and employee. And the payment, whatever will flow from the employer to employee, will be treated under the head income under the head salary. Clear? That's the basic thing. We all know that. The second thing is, let me tell you, in the examination, you have to revise properly. So you have to plan your examination timetable like that you are able to revise the chapter as well as the important question. I'm giving you a very important advice or trick. Whenever you solve the questions of your study material or from any other source like RTP or mock test series, etc. So if there are 10 questions, and if you are after revising the chapter, if you are going to solve the questions, it will happen that out of those 10, you are able to solve almost 5 or 6 without any problem. But there might be 4 or 3 questions that will going to trouble you. You have to work hard to solve them. You may be asked to someone else that how to solve this, or maybe you need more time to solve those questions. So what you need to do out of these 10 questions, you need to tick those questions. Whatever mark you want, you need to write important, you can write important, you can make star, whatever it is. So whenever you are going to solve those questions first time, so out of that 10 questions, there will be 6 questions you are going to solve very easily. But those 4 questions will trouble you. So that means those are important questions for the revision purpose. So you have to tick them. Clear? Now you once revise those chapter and questions. So you have marked 4 questions. That is important. Now again, when you are going to revise those 10 questions, I suggest you only revise those 4 important questions, or just take 1 or 2 questions out of those 6 questions, or try to solve all those four questions what you marked as important questions. And now what will happen, out of those 4 questions, you will be able to solve 2 questions at least without any problem, without any trouble. But might be whenever you are going to solve those 4 questions again, might be 1 or 2 questions again going to trouble you. You need to see the provision again, or you need to take some advice or help from someone to solve them. So now what will happen, out of those 10 questions, there will be only 1 or 2 questions. Those actually going to trouble you. Even at the second time when you are going to solve that. So you can mark 1 more star, 1 more symbol, whatever you want to use. So out of these 10 questions, only 2 questions will have the multiple important mark. So why you are doing this? Because when the examination will be closed, then you only need to revise those 2 questions which having maximum important or your marks. So that will save your time. For those 8 questions you have already solved, that not going to trouble you again. So you will save your time when you are going to revise the question. Why I am saying this? Because when we say revision before examination, it does not mean that you only going to revise the topic or theoretical provision. You have to solve the numerical also. Only in that case, you will be able to understand the concept again. So suppose there is total 50 or 60 question or 100 question in your income tax part. So whenever you revise them, out of those 100 question, I believe only 20 or 25 question will take your first important mark. And when you will revise it again, out of those 25, there will be only 12 or 15 maximum question that must going to have the another important mark. So now what will happen? Before examination, you need to revise only those 15 or 20 questions out of those 100 or 125 questions. That is going to help you. And why I'm saying this? Because I have experienced that myself. I have done that. Because I always believe that in a numerical chapter, the revision should be theoretical provision as well as the numerical questions also before the examination. That will boost your confidence. That will definitely going to help you. Okay. So first point was that salary. What is the meaning of salary? The second is, now what is the content to solve a question? So if you want to solve a salary question, we have majority 4 components we can say. First is we have to find the basic salary, advanced salary, or area of salary in that question. In most of the question, there is only basic salary. In very rare question, there is a concept of area of salary or advanced salary. Okay. Now, you have to calculate basic salary very precisely, because if your basic salary calculation is wrong, if suppose, I believe, if the basic salary calculation is wrong, then that is going to affect your solution very badly. Because in multiple provision, there is a concept of including of basic salary as HRA. We all know that. Next, if you are calculating rent-free house, there is an amendment in rent-free house. In the study material, I guess the rent-free house provision is like up to 31st of August. And from 1st September, it has been changed. So we will discuss this amendment also. Do not worry. Okay. So HRA, we need to include the basic salary and the dearness allowance. So basic salary should be correct. If your basic salary is wrong, that means the calculation of HRA will also be wrong. Rent-free house, it is 10%, 5%, 7.5%, 15% on salary. So that also include basic salary. So if your basic salary is wrong, your rent-free house is wrong. Again, the provident fund provision, that also includes the salary, basic salary, DA, and commission, of course. Again, this is also wrong if your basic salary is wrong. Then we have gratuity provision. We have leave encashment provision, we have retrenchment compensation provision, we have VRS provision. So in all these provisions, we need to include the basic salary at least. And if your basic salary is wrong, that means all these provisions solution will also be wrong. So very focus, very precisely, you have to find the correct basic salary. Fine. Then the second component is taxable allowance. Taxable portion of all allowances. So we know the allowances like house rent allowances, conveyance allowance, daily allowance, special allowance, etc., etc. So those taxable portion of all allowances we have to see. And again, because now we have 115 BAC. So if you going for the default tax regime, now we have default tax regime. Of course, you have gone through with the meaning of default tax regime, etc. in the lectures already uploaded. And one is optional tax regime. So there are certain allowances, etc., which are not exempt, under default tax regime. We have the specific provisions for those allowances in the notes what I have uploaded. And you can see that those allowances which have not been exempted under section in default tax regime, it has been noted in the end of the allowances that this allowance will be available or not available. And there's a summary also in the study material also and in our notes also, in which there is a summarized provision have been notified that which allowances or what benefit you cannot claim if you are going for default tax regime. Like you can only have the standard deduction under both regime, but you cannot have the professional tax deduction or entertainment allowance deduction under default tax regime. Clear? So we need to find out the taxable allowances after giving the respective exemption, but you need to see in the question whether the question asked to be solved under default tax regime or under optional tax regime. This is the first thing you need to see in the question. Read the whole question. You have 15 minutes. In the examination, you will get the question paper 15 minutes before you are having your answer sheets. So those 15 minutes need to be utilized very carefully. Those 15 minutes are very, very important. When I had given my examination, there was no concept of this 15 minutes part. But I guess this is a very beautiful, very wonderful step taken by the institute for your benefit. So if I believe a student is going to utilize those 15 minutes correctly, that is really going to help him in the examination. So that's a very good strategy time. I will tell you in next lectures that how to utilize those 15 minutes. Okay. So you have to find out the taxable, and thus 15 minutes is for to read the question paper correctly. You can mark the important thing. Like if you got the paper, you need to read the salary question. If you need to read the salary question full, maybe at the last line it's going to be mentioned that you have to solve the question under default tax regime or optional tax regime. So if there is these kind of important line, you have to mark them in those 15 minutes. So you will not going to do this kind of mistake that without reading the full question, you might solve the question with optional tax regime. And the examination, it has been notified that you have to solve with the default tax regime or vice versa. Or they might need to solve you under both regimes. So please do read the question paper precisely in detail. Okay. So we have to file the taxable allowances portion, considering in the mind the default tax regime and other optional tax regime. Then we have compensations. Like basic salary is a monthly payment generally and in monetary form. Taxable allowance is also in generally monthly and monetary payments. Compensations are those payments which have been received generally at the time of retirement, etc. Those are kinds of compensation which is generally after the service, like pension, like gratuity, leave encashment, VRS, etc. So they are also in monetary form, but generally a one-time payment, except in case of pension, because pension can be uncommuted and commuted. So uncommuted pension is a monthly payment. So that can be monthly. Other compensation might be in one-time and monetary payments. If these compensation, any of these compensation is going to be received during service, remember, if that is going to be received, any compensation is going to be received during service, then that is going to be taxable 100%. 100% taxable in all cases. Okay. So those are the compensation provision, and I believe you must have seen the old lecture, so you know the exactly what kind of compensation. I have discussed these things in detail in the lectures we have uploaded. And then we came with the perquisite part. So perquisites are technically or generally we can say monthly again, but these are non-monetary. So basic salary is monthly payment, taxable allowance is monthly monetary, compensation not monthly, but they are monetary, of course. Perquisite generally monthly, but these are non-monetary. So if these component has been merged or these components have been solved, then we will find our gross salary. After that gross salary, we have to find out the deductions. These are three deductions: standard deduction, professional tax deduction, and entertainment allowance deduction, which is only available to the government employee. So these are the component to solve a salary question. We have to find out the basic salary, then we have to find out the taxable allowances, then the compensation and the perquisite. So compensation, I believe, will be only in those questions in which employee is going to retire. So if there is no retirement, then I guess compensation part will not be there, and there will be only three components to solve a question: basic salary, taxable allowance and perquisite. ठीक है? तो नॉर्मल क्वेश्चन जो आते हैं जिसमें रिटायरमेंट नहीं है, उसमें कंपनसेशन वाला पार्ट नहीं होगा, बट बाकी क्वेश्चन जिनमें रिटायरमेंट है उसमें कंपनसेशन, अलाउंसेस, बेसिक सैलरी, परक्विजिट्स, चारों कंपोनेंट्स का ट्रीटमेंट होता है. Then we move on to the specific format, the wonderful format designed by the Institute Board of Study. देखिए, so this is from your study material. I've also make the format in a compact form in the notes also, but we are going to discuss one by one these provision, the format you have to use for the purpose of solving a question. And again, I told you, please read the question carefully and remember that in which regime you need to solve these questions. Whether you need to solve under default tax regime or you need to solve under optional tax regime. Okay. So there are good mornings from Pooja Gupta. Good morning. Mirnal. Good morning. Deepika Jha. Good morning. Priya. Good morning. Sadab. Good morning. Athe Hirba. BB. Good morning.
Ankit ji, we should stop all this good morning.
Okay, sir.
They should also, my request to the students also, please, every second we should utilize in learning. So the ritual salutation, by heart we are saying good morning to the teacher and we are trying to learn. So my request is, in the chat box, we should not bombard good morning. And folded hand request, Ankit ji, to you.
Yes, sir.
If we can summarize what has been covered earlier, like, default, I don't know what is default tax system. And see, I could have talked to you one-to-one. We should talk very positive.
Yes.
Wrong, mistakes. Then mine get registered ki this is, I keep on making mistakes. So we'll talk in detail one-to-one. But for the time being, my request is if we can explain everything, even what is in recorded. And Aparna ji, Madam Aparna Chauhan. Anyway, she may not be, I want a detailed write-up of recorded session and oral session. Now, currently, there is no numbering and there is no write-up available to the student. What I have to refer before coming to the class. So, if you can make an attempt, I understand this is final class.
No, sir, intermediate.
So my request is, if you can make a write-up, how to approach this subject, how to study, how to memorize. Students ask, how to memorize all these numbers, percentages, section numbers, and other things. So we can create a quick technique with all our learning, the chapter numbers, and I want students should refer the BEAR Act. And I have requested BOS to make this available. It is there on SCC online. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. So we were discussing the format, what we have in our study material. So one by one, we are going to discuss these provisions. So that will going to help you to revise the provision in a compact way. And we can see that how to solve the question. So that is a performer for computation of income under the head salary as per default tax regime under section 115 BAC. So let me again remind you that before solving a question, those 50 minutes, whatever you have get in that, you have to see if we need to solve the question as per section 115 BAC or not. For every numerical, let me remind you again and again, you have to see this, that we need to solve the question as per section 115 BAC or not. So the format is, first off, is basic salary. As we discussed, that we have to find precisely what is the basic salary given in the question. So that is a monetary payment. You have to find out the basic salary amount in the question which has been given. Then fees or commission. So generally, people think or students think that commission is for agent. But let me tell you, if the commission flows from the employer to employee relationship, that will always form part of our salary head. So that fees, commission, remuneration, by whatever name called, it does not matter, that will be part of my salary head. So any fees and commission, if given in the question, that has to be shown there. Commission can be of two types. It can be percentage commission on sale, or it's a normal per month commission. So that will be given in the question, that it is a percentage commission on sale or it's a per month commission. So remember, if it is a percentage commission on sale, then in that scenario, it will form part of your salary under multiple solution. Like for gratuity C case, you need to take that. For HRA, for provident fund, etc. So you have to write it down. When you are solve a question, if it is a commission which is on percentage base, you can write in front of this mark. So you will remember it is a percentage commission. I have to include that commission for the calculation of multiple questions, multiple provisions like HRA, etc. Then bonus again, if there's a bonus, that will form part of my, of course, salary head. Now allowances. So allowances portion we need to take taxable allowance portion. But because we are talking about section 115 BAC, so in 115 BAC or default tax regime, almost all the allowances are fully taxable. So that will be a good news for you. If the salary question is asked and you need to solve it as per section 115 BAC or a default tax regime, so your tension will be less lower because almost all allowances you need to just going to fully taxable. Like dearness allowance, you need to tax it completely. House rent allowance, fully taxable. Children education allowance in the notes and in the study material also. Whenever these points are discussed later in detail, it has been mentioned there again that this will be taxable fully under default tax regime or whatever the treatment under optional tax regime. Okay. Children hostel allowance, that is again fully taxable. There is an exemption to transport allowance. So that is important. So transport allowance, if it is given to a orthopedically handicapped, etc., then that is going to be exempted up to 3,200 rupees per month. Only in case of blind, deaf, and dumb or orthopedically handicapped employees. So in that case, he or she can claim 3,200 rupees per month exemption for transport allowance, whether you are under a default tax regime or you are under a normal or optional tax regime. Clear? Moving on further. So after transport allowance, we have now entertainment allowance. Now entertainment allowance is going to be taxable fully. Clear? Traveling allowance, daily allowance, and conveyance allowance exempt if the amount is fully utilized for the purpose. So if it is utilized fully for the official purpose, that is going to be exempted. Otherwise, these three allowances is going to be taxable. Other allowance, including overtime allowance, city compensatory allowance, etc., is going to be taxable fully. Now, taxable perquisite. We have rent-free accommodation. Let me tell you, I personally believe that if the salary question comes in the examination, then there will be definitely the provisions of rent-free accommodation will be given. Because rent-free accommodation having now separate provision up to 31st August 2023, that means for 5 months from April to August. The taxability provision percentage has been replaced on or after from 1st September 2023 till 31st March 24. That's for 7 months. So if in the examination rent-free accommodation provisions is going to be asked, then what you need to do? The 5 months calculation will be different and the 7-month calculation will be different. So we have percentage of like 15%, 10%, and 7.5%. And for these 7 months, now we have percentage of 10%, 7.5%, and 5%, and having the separate population provisions also. What we will discuss later with the help of an example, do not worry. Next is the detailed provisions regarding this rent-free house, etc. We have already discussed in the previous classes. Okay. So I am here to give you an overview regarding the format we have to follow. Then one by one, we will discuss the some MCQs regarding the question and some questions which has been given in the mock test paper. Then you can ask your query at 9 a.m. of course. So now we have taxable perquisite, that is value of rent-free accommodation provided to the employee. Value of any accommodation provided to employee at a concessional rate, that I will discuss with you in detail with the help of an example, because it has been an amendment, of course. The accommodation is owned by the employer. There has been percentage of 15%, 10%, and 7.5%. So these percentage will be applicable up to 31st of August. If accommodation has been on rent, then the separate provisions are there. Obligation, C point says obligation of employee discharged by employer. So that is the meaning of perquisite. What is the meaning of perquisite? The perquisite means that if your पर्सनल ऑब्लिगेशन, योर मीन्स एम्प्लॉइज, अगर एम्प्लॉय का कोई पर्सनल लाइबिलिटी है, अगर एम्प्लॉय की कोई पर्सनल लाइबिलिटी है, एंड इफ इट हैज बीन रिम्बर्स्ड, इट हैज बीन पेड बाय द एम्प्लॉयर, that will be called obligation of employee discharged by employer, and that is technically going to be called a perquisite. Like professional tax paid by the employer or any kind of obligation of employee which has been discharged by the employer. Next, any sum payable by employer to affect an assurance on the life of the employee or to affect a contract for annuity. So if the employer is paid any insurance premium on the life of an employee or his family member, that is again going to be taxable as a perquisite. Now we have a specific provision regarding the contribution made in RPF, NPF approved superannuation fund by the employer to the account of assessee to the extent it exceeds 7,50,000 in a previous year. We have discussed it in the detailed class also. That was the taxable value of perquisite we need to calculate in this case was like TP, the formula was like we have discussed combination, the need to calculate the R, the I, etc. So we have also discussed this in detail in that topic with the help of an example. Annual accretion by way of interest, dividend, or any other amount of similar nature during the previous year to the balance to the credit. The interest calculation on this contribution has to be solved, has to be calculated as per section 17(2), etc., which has been discussed in detail also. Any other perquisite like a service of a sweeper, gardener, watchman, remember only those obligation which is for personal use by the employee has been paid by the employer will be treated as a perquisite. If there is any payment which is for official purpose and that is paid by the employer, that is not going to be a perquisite. The gas, electricity or water supply detailed provision we have. Then we have to find out the free or concessional education facility. The provision has been discussed already. Interest-free or concessional loan. Free food. In free food we have 50 rupees per meal exemption. That is also only for those cases in which 115 BAC not covered. So that exemption has not been given over here because we are discussing the provision for default tax regime. Gift voucher 5,000 exemption, use of mobile asset, transfer of mobile asset, all these provision has been discussed in detail. So we have to find out these perquisite. You can see in the above format we have discussed the basic salary, the allowances and the perquisite. Now the fourth component that is called compensation, that is gratuity, pension, leave encashment, VRS, retrenchment, etc. has been or need to calculate to solve a question. If you are thinking that in the examination, how we will learn all these provisions, these are so difficult to remember. In a single question, how I will be able to solve all these questions, then students, do not worry. In a single question, these all provision cannot be asked because in that scenario, there will be a single question of 50 marks only, this salary question. But we have to remember all the provision because out of these concepts, anything can be asked. Any 5 points, any 6 points, any 7 points. So the question length will not be this much what you are seeing in a format, but all content need to be remembered. So you have to make short notes, You have to make tables. If you need to remember the section, there's a very nice trick to remember the sections. It is very important for your law paper and tax paper, etc. Because if you write the right section in the solution, that is definitely going to impress the examiner who is going to check your copy, and that is definitely going to improve your marks. Now, majority students ask me multiple times, sir, how we will remember the sections? It's very difficult to remember the section. And one more thing, if you are going to write the wrong section, suppose the correct section is section 1010B, and you write it down, you 1011B. Instead of 1010B, you write it down like this. We have this section over here. This is the correct section, 1010B. And you write it down like 10 bracket 11B. Now what will happen? That is going to impact you. Double problem will arise, because when a teacher or examiner will see that for this exemption, the correct section was section 1010B and you wrote it like 1011B. So I realized that this student do not remember two sections. One, he or she does not know that the retrenchment compensation exemption correct section is section 1010B. And he or she does not know that section 1011B does not belongs to retrenchment compensation, that is for some other provision. So whenever you write the wrong section, like basics charging section of salary is 15, correct? Charging section of salary is 15 and charging section of income from house property is 22. For PGBP is 28. So if some student write down the charging section of salary instead of 15, if he or she wrote down 28, that means whenever I will see that copy, so I will realize that this student does not remember two sections. He or she does not know that the salary correct charging section is 15, it's not 28. And he and she does not know that the PGBP correct section is 28, that's not 15. So whenever you write the wrong section, you are technically going to damage you twice. So please write the section precisely and write when you are 100% sure. But now the problem arises. The student think or ask, sir, how we can remember all these sections? They are huge, they are multiple. So here is a trick. And those are not trick what I am telling you. Those are my experience. I was a very average student. So I am not saying that I was very brilliant, but I know that hard work is the only key. If I will be working hard regularly, I can be a chartered accountant or I can be anyone. So what I did regarding those, remembering those sections, I took a big chart paper. We all have that. And I write down the section. I have marked 3 or 4 line columns in that chart paper. And I write down the section and the head of that section in front of that section. Like section 1010B, I write down. And in front of that, in short, I write it down that is exemption for retrenchment compensation. So in a single chart paper, you might have write down almost more than 100 sections if you write down like that in 3 or 4 columns. And I paste it on the wall of my room. And whenever I was passing that part, I stand in front of that and I look at that chart, starting 10 section or 15 section. I just look at them and just look at them. I just read them and look at them. I do not try to learn them. I just read them and I just look at them 5 times in a day. And that is one thing that is called photogenic memory. We all have that thing that is called photogenic memory. And it actually, whenever we see anything multiple times, that is automatically recorded without even try to record it. As you saw a movie multiple times, so automatically remember that scene, etc. So that kind of thing, if you'll try that, you can try that. That is a proven technology by scientists also, and it's my personal experience. Write it down, paste it on the wall. You can watch it. Even if you are going to watch 10 sections 5 times in a day, in a 2 or 3 days, you are going to remember all those sections without even trying to remember it. You can try that. Okay. So retrenchment compensation provisions are there. Then we will have our gross salary. Then deductions we have, and because we are under default tax regime, so we can only have one deduction, that is standard deduction under section 16(1)(a). That is amount of salary or 50,000, whichever is less. So that will be my income under that salary under default tax regime. Moving on to optional tax regime. They're almost same concept. There's only difference of certain exemption which has not been available under default tax regime, but those are available under normal provision of the Act. So first of all, of course, basic salary, there is no difference. Let me tell you, there is no difference under the optional tax regime and the default tax regime in respect of calculation of salary, except some exemption which is not available under default tax regime, but these are available under optional tax regime. So basic salary, fees, commission, bonus, exactly the same. Allowances.
कौन सी पीली?
Now dearness allowance, that is going to be fully taxable.
थोड़ा सा लेट होगा तो कोई बात नहीं, बात करेंगे.
Regarding the dearness allowance, always remember there are two kinds of dearness allowance. One is as per terms of employment or as per retirement benefits, or one is non-term. So if the question is silent, then always treat it as non-term. So if it has been specifically written in the question that dearness allowance is as per terms of employment or for retirement benefit, then it will be called terms of employment dearness allowance. Okay. Then moving on to allowances, those are same, like now we have exemption for HRA. That exemption is not available under default tax regime, but it is available under optional tax regime. So we have HRA provision, we have to calculate the exemption as per the concept, amount received, rent paid, 10%. We have already gone through with these provision in our detailed classes. Then we have exemption also available under children education allowances, hostel allowances, transport allowance exemption is same, both in under default tax regime and under optional tax regime. We have entertainment allowance deduction. We have traveling allowance, daily allowance and conveyance allowance, same provision. Other allowances, taxable perquisite provisions, rent-free house, etc. What we will discuss later. Same provision, exemption, obligation, same provision, same insurance provision, motor car perquisite, other perquisite. There is no difference in these concepts. Clear? Interest-free loan, free food benefit. This 50 rupees benefit is available under optional tax regime, which is not available under default tax regime. Clear? Then voucher and gift, use of movable asset, transfer of movable asset, we have already gone through with these provision. Leave travel concession, exemption is there. Gratuity exemption is there. Pension exemption we have. Leave encashment, voluntarily retirement exemption we have. Retrenchment exemption we have. Now we have deduction. There are 3 deductions. So now we have stand deductions. Then we have entertainment allowance deduction, and that is only for government employee. Remember, entertainment allowance deduction is available only for government employee, and that will be least of the following. And in my opinion, always remember, if there is entertainment allowance is given in the question, always remember this point, because generally it happens. All other allowances except this entertainment allowance, we take the taxable allowance value in the above format, in the allowances part. Like if you are receiving children education allowance, then technically if you're receiving suppose 500 rupees, then exemption is 100 rupees. So we will take only 400 rupees under this format as taxable portion of allowance. But entertainment allowance is the only allowance for which you are going to have a deduction, not an exemption. And that is going to be claimed after calculation of gross salary. So if you receive 500 rupees for entertainment allowance, so you have to tax it completely in the above format. And if that is exempt, or if there is some deduction available, only if you are a government employee. If you are not a government employee, there is no deduction. So if 100 rupees comes as a deduction, that you have to deduct after calculation of gross salary. What you should not do in the examination, suppose there is a children education allowance, 500 rupees, 100 rupees exemption. So we taxable directly 400 in taxable portion of allowances above format. Okay. But suppose if this is the same case for entertainment allowance, and this is a question of government employee, and you calculate the deduction, 500 rupees received, you calculate the deduction, that comes 100 rupees, and you thought, what will be the difference? Let me deduct it over here and let me again taxable this 400 directly over here. Why should I add 500 over here and 100 deduct over here? The mathematically amount will be same, 400 net effect. So the answer will remain the same, but that will be the wrong format. You cannot do that. If you do that, your marks will be deducted. So this is the format. You have to taxable 500 rupees as an entertainment allowance in the taxable portion of allowance category, and you have to show the deduction under deduction. So there's a format of everything, you have to follow it. Okay, you cannot use a shortcut for that. So that was the format. We have the provision which is described performer for computation of income under the head salary under optional tax regime, taking salary computed as per default tax regime. So you can use a shortcut also. You can take the salary as per the default tax regime and you can claim those special exemption which has not been available under default tax regime. So you can deduct the HRA, children allowance, hostel allowance, etc. So you can find out your salary under the optional tax regime. So the format is saying that if you have already calculated the salary under default tax regime, an examiner asks you also calculate the salary under optional tax regime. So do not waste your time to calculate again the full amounts under optional tax regime. You can do what? You can take the total gross salary, income under that salary as per default tax regime, reduce these exemptions which are not available under default tax regime. So after reducing these exemptions, you will have salary under optional tax regime. Okay. Now these are perquisite provision, what we have already discussed in the concept part. So now I will take some MCQ. We will solve the MCQs with the provisions. So we are able to discuss the provision as well as the questions. That is going to help you. And then after these MCQ, we have almost 14-15 MCQs. And after that MCQs, we will move on to our full salary question solution. So we are going to solve small part of the salary under these MCQ part. And then we are able to solve the full question, which might be the type of question going to be asked in your examination. And before that, we will do the rent-free house provisions. First of all, I guess we should take the rent-free house provision because in MCQ, there is a concept of rent-free house also. So let's get a second. I believe these notes have been uploaded on the portal, of course, so you can go and download all the notes. All the notes are based on the study material. Everything has been exactly same as per the study material. Employee benefits we have discussed, type of perquisite. So because there is an amendment, that was the provision I was discussing with you, that is taxable perquisite value in case of exceeding contribution of 7,50,000. I have discussed in detail in the normal class with the help of an example also, which was of a study material. So because the rent-free house perquisite having an amendment which has not been discussed in the normal class, so we are going to discuss that amendment over here. So this was rent-free house perquisite valuation of residential accommodation, sub rule 1 of rule number 3. This amendment notes, the updated amendment notes also been uploaded later, I guess on 21st of January. My last class, income under the head, income from other source, and after that computation of total income, I guess. The last class I have been taken was computation of total income and tax thereon. So in that notes, I have uploaded the amendment for rent-free house provision PDF sheet. So you can download this amendment part also from that portal. This is also have been uploaded. So the normal provision up to was 31st August 23. So that has been discussed in detail in the normal class. So nothing has been changed. These percentage and the population criteria has been changed. So up to 31st August. So if there is a question and there is rent-free house facility has been given in that question, then what you need to do, you need to calculate rent-free house as per the old provision up to 31st of August. That means for 5 months, you have to calculate the taxable value of rent-free house as per the previous provision, which has been given over here. Like if the house is owned by the employer, if the house is owned by the employer, then we will take 15% of salary during the period house is occupied. And that is if the population is exceeding 25 lakh. Clear? That percentage will be 10% if the population exceeding 10 lakh, but up to 25 lakh. And in any other city, that means if population is less than or up to 10 lakh, that will be 7.5% of salary. If the house is on lease or rent, then the percentage will be same in all cases. That will be 15% of salary or the rent paid, whichever is lower in all three cases. Clear? And the population was as per 2001 census. Now, amendment on or after, after 31st August 23. So that means from on or after for September 23 till 31st of March, these 7-month calculation is going to be done as per case number 2, amended provision. Now, percentage and the population, these two things have been changed only. Now, the 25 lakh has been replaced by 40 lakh. So, if the population of the city is exceeding 40 lakh as per 2011 census, then we will take 10% of salary instead of 15%. Clear? If the population is more than 15 lakh up to 40 lakh, then that will be 7.5% only. And in any other city, that means population up to 15 lakh, that will be 5% of salary. Again, if it is on lease, the percentage will remain 10% in all cases. So this has been changed. And I believe that in the examination, this kind of question is going to be asked. So you have to calculate the rent-free house provision in 2 parts. Up to 31st August, that means for 5 months calculation will be different and the 7-month calculation will be separately done. So we have a question also regarding that. One more change, that is the definition of remote area has been amended. The remote area definition up to 31st August was an area which is 40 kilometers away. So remote area definition is saying up to 31st August, an area which is 40 kilometers away from a town having a population not exceeding 20,000. That was the old definition. On or after for September 2023. Now the meaning of remote area means within the local limits of or within a distance measured aerially of 30 kilometers from the local limits of any municipality or a cantonment board having a population of 1 lakh or more based on 2011 census. Okay. Now this is the question what we are going to discuss to understand the provision of rent-free house for the purpose of examination. So Mr. Sudeep Jain working in XYZ Limited and salary details are as under for financial year 23-24. Salary is 20,000 per month. Very good. Commission is 38,400. So if any amount has been given in the question and there is no per month is written, you have to understand that this is annual payment, 38,400 for the full year. Okay. Now travel allowance, 30% used for personal purpose and balance on official purpose. So travel allowance exemption provision says we are solving this question and the provisions for travel allowance says that the part which has been used for official purpose is going to be exempted and which has been used for personal purpose is going to be taxable. So travel allowance 30% used for personal purpose. That means out of this 2,000, 30% per month, that is 600 rupees per month is going to be taxable value. Clear? Same in case of conveyance allowance, the same concept is there. 30% for personal purpose is going to be taxable. That means again 600 rupees per month. Telephone allowance provision says full taxable because there is no exemption for telephone allowance. Remember, there is a concept of telephone facility. Telephone facility is fully exempt, but telephone allowance is fully taxable. So do not get confused in examination. Okay. Now the car allowance. Again, this is a car allowance, not car facility. If it is a car facility, we have the multiple provision. If car is owned by employer, if car is not owned by employer, then who is bearing that expenditure? Official expenditure, personal expenditure, car is used for both purpose, etc. But this is not that case. This is our car allowance that is going to be fully taxable. I have already told in the previous lecture that if there is any allowance has been given in the question which do not have any specific provision like lunch allowance, car allowance, telephone allowance, dog allowance, whatever it is, that is going to be 100% taxable. An employer contribution to RPF, that is recognized provident fund, is 11% of salary has been given in question. And the question asked, he has been provided rent-free accommodation in Lucknow. And suppose population is exceeding 20 lakh. Clear? Compute rent-free house value if accommodation owned by employer and accommodation has been taken on a rent of 14,000 per month. So now because the question is regarding the rent-free accommodation, so we have to solve this provision in two parts. First is from 1st April 23 till 31st August 23. That means 5 months. You can see like this. And the other part is from 1st September 23 till 31st March 24. So first of all, we have to solve this for 5 months. Basic salary, because it was 20,000 per month. So that is 1 lakh rupees. Okay. So this is 5 months calculation. What we are going to do? And this is 7-month calculation. What we are going to do? Okay. So basic salary 5 months we have taken 1 lakh rupees. Commission that was 38,400 for the whole year. So we bifurcate it for by 12, that is for 5 months, it will be 16,000 and the remaining of 7 months for 22,400. Because for the purpose of rent-free house, the salary will be all monetary payments except DA only for that part which is for retirement benefit. Okay. So commission we will take full. Taxable traveling allowance. So that was 600 rupees per month. So for 5 months it will be 3,000 and for 7 months it will be 4,200. Same conveyance allowance. Telephone allowance full taxable 500, that means 2,500 and 3,500. Car allowance of course 2,500 and 3,500. So total will be from 5 months salary 1,27,000 and for 7 months it will be 1,77,800. So now we have two cases that if owned by employer and on the basis of population, we will take 10% for the 5 first months and 7.5% for the next 7 months. So that will be the taxable part for 5 months and this will be your taxable part for 7 months. That is 10% of salary and this is 7.5%. So total taxable value will be 26035. If it is on rent, then that will be 15% of salary or rent paid, whichever is lower. And the 7 months case, 10% of salary or rent paid, whichever is lower. So according to that, taxable value will be 19050, 15% is lower. And in this case, 17780, that is lower value, 10%. Total taxable value will be 36830. Let me tell you, I have uploaded this notes also on the portal in my last class, or I will upload this full chapter today also. So you can upload today also. I will download this in the PDF format and I will upload these provisions today also. So you can download from there also. Okay. So that was salary rent-free house provision. Now we are going to solve the MCQ part. One by one, we will take the MCQ. So these MCQs are related to specific topics which we have discussed in our salary provisions. And then we will move on to our detailed question of salary. Okay, so first question says, for an employee in receipt of hostel expenditure allowance for his 3 children, the maximum annual allowance exempt under section 1014 is. Remember, this is for optional tax regime. If that is a default tax regime, then this exemption is not available. So we are solving all the question of allowances considering these questions related to our optional tax regime. Because if it is default tax regime, that is very simple. You need to taxable the full value. Okay. So hostel expenditure provision says that 300 rupees per month. 300 rupees per month per child. Maximum for 2 children you can claim. This is the provision. That is 300 rupees per month per child. Maximum for 2 children. So the provision says he is having 3 children. How much exemption he can claim? So that is 300 rupees multiplied by 2. That is 600. Maximum exemption for the year can be 7,200. So correct option is option number B. I hope it's clear. Once you will be able to solve these small provision individually, whether it's a rent-free house, whether it's a HRA, whether it's a hostel expenditure, whether it's a provident fund provision. So in a full question, what we need to do? We need to solve these separate provision combined. That's it. So generally students have a phobia that this is a long question. How we will be able to solve? So do not worry. If you are able to solve these small parts correctly, then the long question we are not need to do anything else. We just need to put them together. And there is step marking concept also. So do not worry. Next question. Mr. A is employed in ABS Transport as cabin driver. He is paid 15,000 every month in the whole of the previous year 23-24 as allowance for meeting his personal expenditure in the course in running the goods vehicle. Mr. A does not receive any other allowance. तो ये क्वेश्चन है ट्रांसपोर्ट कंपनी के एम्प्लॉय का. देखिए ट्रांसपोर्ट अलाउंस is exempted only for blind, deaf, dumb, etc. 3,200 rupees per month. Clear? But if there is a transport allowance which has been given to a transport employee, then we have the separate provision. So this relates to transport allowance to transport employee, and the provision says lower of the following will be exempted. $10,000 per month or 70% of allowance, whichever is lower. The provision says this. So 10,000 per month or 70% of allowance, whichever is lower is going to be exempted. So that means in our question, 10,000 per month means 1,20,000. Or 70% of allowance. So allowance has been given 15,000 per month. So 17% of 15,000 per month, that means for the whole year, that is 1,80,000. So that will come 1,26,000. So 70% of allowance or 10,000 rupees per month, whichever is lower is exempted. So exemption will be 1,20,000. So correct option is, of course, B. Clear? Next. Moving on to third question. Children education allowance received by an employee from his employer is 80 rupees per month for 3 children. So there are 3 children, 1, 2 and 3. And he is getting 80 rupees per month for all these 3 children separately. 80 rupees, 80 rupees, 80 rupees. Taxable education allowance will be how much? So again, we are under optional tax regime. The provision says 100 rupees per month per child, maximum for 2 children. So in this case, we can claim the exemption of this child. So taxable value will be nil. And this also. He cannot claim the exemption. So 80 rupees is going to be taxable. So taxable value will be 960 rupees. Correct answer will be A. Next. Chandan, a handicapped employee, received 1500 rupees per month as transport allowance from his employer. His actual expenditure on transport is 1000 per month. The amount of transport allowance taxable under the head income from salary will be. So because he is a handicapped employee and we have the specific provision regarding that. And it says the provision says 3200 rupees per month will be exempted maximum or up to the amount of allowance. So he was receiving 1500 rupees per month. So up to 1300 rupees per month maximum he can claim the exemption. But because the amount is only 1500 rupees per month, so exemption will also be 1500 rupees per month. There will be no taxable value. Full amount is exempted. So that will be B is the correct answer. Next. Now this is for gratuity. So those were allowances provision. Now we are moving on to our gratuity provision. It says Kishore retires on 4th January 2024. After 16 years. Okay, some student asked, sir, suppose Suganya, suppose in question commission is 20,000 per annum, out of which 20% is on sale. Then the amount to be included in the gross salary is 20,000 or 4,000. So we need to know the sale value. Now you have not given me the sale value. So whatever is the sale value, 20% of that sale value need to be included. For example, sale value has been given 5 lakh rupees. So that means 20% of 5 lakh. That means 1 lakh rupee need to be included. How this 20,000 or 40,000? Okay, you are saying 20,000 per annum. Okay, commission has been given. Sorry. In question, commission is 20,000 per annum, out of which 20% is on sale. The question is wrong. You have drafted the wrong question. Where is the sale? So if the sale will be given, then we will claim 20% of that value. Okay, so your question is something different. You are asking like this. Now I got it. You are saying commission is 20,000 for full year. And out of this commission, 20% belongs to upon the sale. Very good question. So whenever we calculate the gross salary, we take the basic salary. And now we include the commission. So commission will be full 20,000 for the purpose of calculation of salary. But 20% of this 20,000, that means 4,000 commission. That is the commission which belongs on sale. So whenever you calculate the gratuity, in which it says basic salary, gratuity, that case on which 1972 Act is not applicable. In that gratuity, salary means basic salary DA if as per retirement benefits, and percentage commission on sales. So when you calculate salary for the purpose of gratuity, then you need to take the commission only 4,000. But whenever you are calculating the gross salary, for that purpose, this 20,000 will be considered in full. Like for HRA again, we need salary including basic salary, DA terms and percentage commission on sales. So for that salary, for calculation of HRA only, we take commission 4,000. Clear? But when we calculate the gross salary in the format what we have discussed, over there we will consider 20,000 full commission for the purpose of calculation of gross salary. Okay. Next, moving on, question number 5 we were discussing. Kishore retires on 4 January 24 after 16 years and 11 months from A Limited. He received gratuity 6 lakh on retirement. Basic salary was 44,000 per month and dearness allowance 8,000 per month. Compute taxable gratuity if he is covered by 1972 Act. So for the purpose of calculation of gratuity, we have 3 cases. If you are a government employee, then any gratuity received is exempted if received by central government, state government, etc. Okay. But if the Payment of Gratuity Act is applicable, then we have to find out the exemption like this. For that purpose, gratuity received, which has been given in question, is 6 lakh. Then exemption fixed limit, which is 20 lakh. And then the third case, which is having a formula, it says 15/26 multiplied by monthly salary multiplied by year of service. So if we solve this formula over here, then 15/26 and monthly salary means basic salary and DA, whether it's as per terms of employment or not. For C case or for that case in which Gratuity Act is not applicable, in that case we take basic salary, DA as per retirement terms and commission on sale percentage base. But for B case, we just need basic salary and all kind of DA. So technically, this and this full DA will be considered. So that will be 52,000. Year of service in this case says if any fraction of months exceeding 6 months, then it will be considered as a 1 year. So that will be 17. If we'll solve this, we will get 90,000. So we need to calculate taxable gratuity. So we have received, we will have 5,10,000. Exemption is 5,10,000. Lowest will be exempted. So 6 lakh, 20 lakh and 5,10,000. Exempted is 5,10,000. And taxable value always means and the taxable value says the amount total value less the exemption. So we have received 6 lakh rupees over here. And because we have received 6 lakh, then the taxable value will be remaining 5 lakh, 5,10,000 exemption. Then the taxable value will be 90,000 rupees. So that 90,000 is going to be taxable. So that is our option number D. D is the correct answer. Just a second. So that will be the correct answer, D. Moving on to the next question. Kishore worked in A Limited retired on 21st October 2023. Let me tell you, for compensation, gratuity and leave encashment is very, very, very important. So you have to solve multiple questions for practice for gratuity and leave encashment. Everything is important. Of course, pension is also important. VRS also, retrenchment. But in my opinion, these have multiple provisions. So that is very, very important. So Kishore worked in A Limited, retired on 21st October 2023. Received gratuity 1,20,000. He served the company for 26 years and 7 months. His salary was 5,000 per month. However, the average salary for the 10 months preceding the month of retirement is 4,800 rupees per month. He is not covered under Gratuity Act 1972. Find out taxable gratuity. So in this case, again, amount received, that was 1,20,000. The second was 20 lakh rupees. And now that is a case on which payment of Gratuity Act is not applicable. So if payment of Gratuity Act is not applicable, in that means we will have a different formula to calculate the exemption. That is 1/2 into average monthly salary into completed year of service. So if we solve that, that will be 1/2. Average monthly salary has been given in question, 4,800. So that will be 4,800. And for this C case, we ignore the months. We do not consider the month or fraction, etc. So we will take 26 years over here. 26 years over here. So if we calculate, we will get the exemption amount is 62,400. Out of these three, this is lowest. So that is going to be exempted. The taxable value will be the balance, that is received minus exempt. That is 57,600. Next. So you can see these kind of provisions going to be asked in the examination. So you can understand that if we know the provision correctly, and if you are able to solve it now, then what happened in examination? That is one thing that's called nervousness. So you have to control your nerves. Do not get more nervous. Nervousness is a normal, of course, emotion. It will be there in your examination, but you have to control it. You do not make that pressure of examination to control you. You have to control that. You should believe that, yes, I know the provision. I have studied for the year. I have did my hard work, and I will going to give this examination nicely. So do not fear. Fear is the reason for failure. You should have courage. You should believe yourself. Do not take overburden of your examination that what will happen. Nothing will happen. Fine. So if you have worked properly, if you have planned your examination, if you have a specific strategy, if you have worked hard, definitely your examination will be going to give you a good result. So do not try to study for the last only 1 month. You have to start every day. You have to study every day. You have to work hard every day. And if you are able to revise every topic, every chapter, every question twice, then definitely you are going to clear the examination. That's I always say you must have watched the classes, my previous classes, in which I have told stories also. And the motive of all the stories is only one: focus, hard work, be patient, believe yourself, be positive. These 5 things you have to follow, and you can achieve anything whatever you want. So please revise twice. That's my advice to make you wise, I always say. So until you are able to revise your provision, your questions also twice. I told you, if you'll revise your question, all numerical question twice, you will mark them again and again. And out of these 10 or 12 questions, you only have to revise only 1 question at a time of exam. So suppose how easy it was. So it was not difficult to solve any examination. It's all we need, just a proper planning, proper focus, some sacrifices, of course, and your heart. That will be done 100%. Because this kind of question will be asked in case of gratuity in examination. But what will happen? Out of 10 students, maybe 5 or 6 or 7 will attempt the correctly, or maybe 2 or 3 is going to solve it wrong, even when they have solved this question earlier at their home or at a time of their study correctly. But in the examination, they do silly mistakes. So whenever you solve a question, there's a proper technique to solve a question. First of all, understand the question, then process it with the help of provision. You should recall the provision once. Do not solve it directly. You have to recall the provision and then implement that provision. Like if the question related to Gratuity Act 1972 not covered, then I have to revise what is the provision for Gratuity Act. That is amount received, then it's 20 lakh rupees, then the formula is 1/2 into average monthly salary into complete year of service. So if you are able to process the provision, then implement it. It's not difficult. Nothing is difficult. Okay. Next is question number 7. Again, it's a gratuity question. A retired from service on 1st November 2023 after service. Sorry, it's not a gratuity, it's a pension question. Because in a pension question, if you receive gratuity, the exemption will be 1/3, and if you does not receive the gratuity, the exemption will be 1/2 of the computed value of the whole pension. So the first information is given that he has received gratuity. Now he was entitled to a pension of 12,500 rupees per month with effect from 1st November 23. From 1st November 24, he got 60% of his pension commuted and received a sum of 7,50,000 as commuted pension. Calculate his pension taxable. I don't know why multiple students get confused in pension taxable question. I don't know why. It's a simple question, and I believe it's more of mathematics rather than income tax provision, because income tax provision says regarding the pension, the provision is simple. Like, what is the provision for pension taxability? It will be uncommuted or commuted. Fine, I am writing in short. If it is uncommuted, it is 100% taxable for all employees. Sorted? All employees. If it is commuted, then either you will be a government employee. For those, it is exempted. Government, state, local authority, etc. And if you are other than government, the provision says exemption will be 1/2 into whole commuted value of pension, in short, or 1/3 into whole commuted value of pension. Okay? If gratuity received, then exemption will be 1/3. If no gratuity received, then exemption will be 1/2. So this is the provision for taxability of pension. Now, what is the problem in solving this? Because we do not revise the provision, or we try to solve the whole question at one go. That what is the taxable value of pension? ऐसे नहीं solve होगा. What is the taxable value of pension? Directly नहीं solve होगा. We have to solve it one by one. अभी कोई काम करना है तो पहले फर्स्ट स्टेप लेंगे ना. फाइनल के एग्जाम थोड़ा ना डायरेक्टली दे दोगे. सीए बनना है तो कैसे होगा सीए? पहले फाउंडेशन होगा, या डायरेक्ट एंट्री है तो फिर डायरेक्टली पहले इंटरमीडिएट होगा, ट्रेनिंग होगी, तब फाइनल होगा. ऐसे थोड़ा ना होगा कि सीए करना डायरेक्ट फाइनल का एग्जाम दे दो. मतलब किसी स्कूल में एडमिशन लेंगे हम, और बचपन में नर्सरी में जब जाएंगे या यूकेजी एलकेजी वॉट एवर इट इज, तो उधर ही जाके बोलेंगे प्रिंसिपल को कि एग्जाम आई विल गिव वन टाइम एग्जामिनेशन. मुझे पहले 12th तक पढ़ा लो, एग्जाम नहीं दूंगा. एग्जाम वन टाइम में दूंगा पूरे 12th के एक साल, फ्रॉम एलकेजी टिल 12th. ऐसा नहीं. So there is a step. You have to understand, you cannot find the solution by reading a practical question. You have to solve it in part one by one. So first information was this, कि he has received gratuity, so I know the exemption will be now 1/3. So this information utilization has been finished. Okay. Now he was entitled to a pension of 12,500 per month with effect from 1st November 23. Very good. So from November, he has received uncommuted pension. That is going to be taxable. Until when? From 1st January, he got 60%. So November and December, he received uncommuted pension, that is 12,500 rupees per month. So I guess there is no issue. This is taxable value. Now, in case of pension, it has been given in question that from 1st January 2024, he received 60% value of pension in lump sum. That means commuted. तो 60% पेंशन की वैल्यू उसने एक साथ रिसीव कर ली. दैट हैज बीन गिवन इन क्वेश्चन 7,50,000. ओके. Now the exemption calls 1/3 into commuted value of whole pension. The provision says commuted value of whole pension. ठीक है. अब 60% is equal to 7,50,000. So what is the value? 100% value of this pension divided by 60 into 100. It's a maths. So total value of my pension will be 12,50,000. तो किया क्या हमने? 12,50,000 की टोटल पेंशन थी, उसका मैंने 60% एक साथ ले लिया, विच इज 7,50,000. ठीक है. अब एग्जेम्पशन होगी 1/3 इंटू कम्यूटेड वैल्यू ऑफ होल पेंशन, दैट इज 12,50,000. इसे सॉल्व कर लेते हैं. So that will come around 416,667. So that is my exempted provision. Now a silly mistake which has been done by student generally. This is exempted and now we need to find out the taxable part of commuted value of pension. So what we do, we deduct 41667 out of this 12,50,000. No, that's where I say always recall the provision. The taxable provision universal is received minus exempt. Is 12,50,000 is the received amount? It is the total pension value that has not been received. Out of this, we have received 7,50,000 only. This. So the formula for getting the taxable value is universal, that is received minus exempted. So received is 7,50,000 and exempt is 416,667. So we will get the taxable value of commuted pension. That will be 3,33,333. 3,33,333. Now the last part. Till December, we have received pension 12,500 rupees per month. From January, February and March. Now you will not receive 12,500 rupees per month because out of this 60% has been received as a commuted value of pension, that is 7,50,000. So now remaining value you will receive as 40% per month now, which will come 5,000 rupees. So 5,000 in January, 5,000 in February, 5,000 in March. So taxable value of uncommutative for the whole year will be 40,000. And commuted will be 3,33,333. You need to add it to calculate the total pension taxable value for the whole year, and that will be 373,333. So C is the correct answer. So what I did, I solved this question as per the information given one by one. So first of all, he told me that he is receiving gratuity. So the exemption will be 1/3. Then 12,500 rupees per month. So I calculate the 2-month calculation, that is 25,000 rupees. Then he said he receives 60,000 per month, 60% pension as commuted value, that is 7,50,000. So as a third step, I find out the total pension value. And if I receive the total pension value, this is 12,50,000. Then I find out with the help of the formula 1/3, the exempted value and the taxable amount, which is received minus exempt. Always remember, received minus exempt, the universal provision. So now we have 3,33,333 is a taxable value. Now the last part is, because 60% of 12,500 has been commuted. So the balance of this 12,500 will be received monthly. That is 40%. So 5,000 per month from January, February, March will be there. And let me tell you, in the examination, this kind of pension question always asked. Okay. Now moving on to question number 8. A is entitled to a basic salary 5,000 per month and DA 10,000 per month, 40% of which forms part of retirement benefit. So that means the 40%, that means 4,000 as per terms of employment. He is also entitled to HRA, that is 20,000 per month. He actually pays 20,000 per month as rent in Delhi. Compute taxable HRA. So now what I need to do? I have read the provision. Now I need to recall the provision. I read the question. Now I need to recall the provision. Don't try to solve the question by reading it. You can only able to solve it by recalling the provision first and then implement it in a question one by one. This is the rule for solving any numerical question. Follow these provisions. That will really going to help you. As I told you how to revise the section, just try it. Okay, ज़्यादा मेहनत मत करो. एक चार्ट पेपर लो, छोटा सा ले लो, A4 साइज, फाइन. आज उस पर 15 या 20 सेक्शन लिख लो, 15-20 सेक्शन अ डे आज लिख लो, उसको पेस्ट कर दो अपने वॉल पर. जब ब्रश करते हो सुबह या जब भी फ्री होते हो 2-3 मिनट के लिए ना, गो इन फ्रंट ऑफ दैट, watch that section, just watch it, do not try to remember it, do not try to learn them, just read to see that sections. Do it 5 or 6 times in a day and a second day. After 2 days you will be able to recall all the provision, and this memory will be retained in your brain for longer time period in respect of that memory which you try to learn, because you forget it after some time. But this photogenic memory will remain constantly, because like the movies, whatever you have seen like 10 or 5 years before, whatever you have seen like that, now you automatically it pastes in our brain, because the brain is the most powerful machine in this entire universe what we have in our here. So you can do anything, you can do miracle with your brain power. So the scientist says you can remember each book which has been written in this world with word by word. If you are able to use your 100% capacity of your brain, you can learn each and every word of every book. You can remember it by heart if your brain is working properly. So we are using upon 2 to 6 or 3 or 4% of our brain capacity only. And in this capacity, we have done this much. Okay. So now the HRA provision, now the HRA concept says you have to calculate HRA received, which has been given in question. The second provision is 10%, sorry, rent paid minus 10% of salary. And salary will include basic salary, dearness allowance as per terms of employment, and commission as percentage of sale. And then 50% of salary or 40% of salary depending upon the metro city. If you are in DMCK, then 50, otherwise 40. So now we recall the provision. So now I can put the values which has been given in question as per the provision and you will get the answer. Solving numericals are far more easy than writing up a theoretical question provision. Suppose in a theoretical question, you have to write everything. But in a numerical, you just need to remember it and you need to put the value because the value has been given in question. You just need to put this value. That's it. In a theoretical question, you have to write each and everything. So if I remember this provision, I will be able to solve this question or any question of HRA. Does not matter. So HRA received is 20,000 per month. So annually it is 2,40,000 in this question. Then we have rent paid again 20,000. That means 2,40,000. I have calculated the salary, that is 10% of basic salary, that is 50,000. DA's 4,000 we will take because that is terms of employment, that is 54,000 into 12. If you'll solve it, you will get 64,000. After reducing, you will get 10% is 64,800. After deducting, that will be 1,75,200. Third is 50% of salary as Delhi has been given. So that will be 3,24,000. So lowest will be this. This is going to be exempted and balance is going to be taxable, which is received minus exempted. So the correct answer will be in this case B, 64,800. Sadab is asking, sir, part of salary contributed towards pension is taxable or not? That must have been taxable whenever you have received the basic salary. That will be included as a part of your basic salary. As you part of salary you pay for the contribution to recognized provident fund. So that is not going, the employee part cannot be taxable again because that has been taxable already when you receive it as a basic salary. Next question number 9. Mr. A received 4,60,000 for encashment of, okay, fine. Now this is for leave encashment. Very important topic. So it says you receive 4,60,000 for encashment of 600 days leave after serving 32 years of service. He got 37 leaves every year. Average monthly salary is 20,000 per month. So for the leave encashment, we need to remember those 4 provisions. That is for amount received. Then the limit has been increased to 25 lakh. 10 into AMS. And then we have leave earn minus leave avail into AMS upon 30. Out of those 4, whichever is lower is going to be exempted. For leave earn, the concept says actual leave or 30 days in a year, whichever is less. That cannot be exceeding 30 days. Leave avail, we have to, that must be given in the question. If leave avail has not given in question, then we have to calculate it by total leave given or earn minus unavail. That will be given in question. I have discussed this topic in detail in the recorded video. Kindly go through that video and please watch the leave calculation. The 4th point is very, very important. In our question, the leave received is 4,60,000. 25 lakh is the government fixed limit. AMS has been given 20,000 into 10. That means 2 lakh. And this is leave earn minus leave avail. So leave earn has been provided for 37 days in a year, which cannot exceed 30. So we will take over here 30 into 32 years. So 37 or 30, whichever is lower, I've been taken. For 32 year, it will be 32-year multiplication. Now leave avail. Leave avail has not been given in question, so I have to find out. Like total leave, actual jitni given hai, 37 into 32, that will be 1184, less leave unavail. Unavails are those leave for which we have received the leave encashment. That is 600 in this case. That will be 584. So this minus leave avail is 584 into 20,000 upon 30. That will be 376 into the formula. So that will be 250,666. Lowest will be 2 lakh rupees. That is going to be exempted, and balance 260 is going to be taxable. So correct answer will be B. This is also for leave encashment. You can try it yourself. Now this is a rent-free accommodation. We have discussed the question. You have to solve it in 2 parts because I need to discuss the long questions. So I just want to move on to the long question, what has been given in the mock test paper. If we have spare time, I will solve 11, 12, etc. But these are simple questions for rent-free houses and car perquisite. Go through it. If there is any problem, I am going to solve it. The last question is for medical perquisite. Fine. So let me move on to the mock test paper question. Just a second. In a second, let me find those questions. One we have, now we have answer 1. Fine. So first we will solve this question number 1. And before that question, always remember you have to read the question first. This is question number 3A. So all students should read the question. And it says, Mr. Sahil, a resident individual aged 40 years, is an assistant manager of Fox Limited. He's getting a salary of 55,000 per month. Okay, during the previous year, 23-24, he received the following amounts from his employer, that is dearness allowance, and the dearness allowance 10% of basic pay, which forms part of salary for retirement benefits. So dearness allowance is 10% of basic pay and it is as per terms of employment. Bonus 60,000, fixed medical allowances, also reimburse the medical bill for his mother. So we can do one thing. Manish ji, I guess we should take a break, and after the break, we can solve this question. Fine? Okay. Welcome back, everyone. So we were discussing a question, full question. Let's move on to that question. So Mr. Sahil, so one by one, we need to solve it. But because I told you earlier also that before solving any question, you have to find it out how to solve it as per default tax regime or as per optional tax regime. So at the end of the question, compute the income under the head salary of Mr. Sahil for the assessment year 24-25 if he is paying tax under default tax regime. So if you are going to pay tax as per default tax regime, the solution will be as under. So we have to solve this question as per default tax regime. So point number one, we'll start from here. It says Mr. Sahil, a resident individual, age 40 years, is an assistant manager of Fox Limited. He's getting a salary of 55,000 per month. So first of all, basic salary. That will come 6,60,000. Then dearness allowance. That is 10% of basic pay. That means 66,000. And in the question, you should write like this in front of the DNS allowance. That means as per retirement benefit or as per terms of employment, because this kind of DA need to be included for the purpose of gratuity C case. That means not covered by payment of gratuity act, leave encashment, HRA, etc. So we have done this. We have done this. Now the bonus is 60,000. Fixed medical allowance. Medical allowance is going to be taxable full value. Fixed medical allowance. That is 50,000. He was also reimbursed the medical bill of his mother dependent on him amounting to rupees 6,500. So there is no exemption for reimbursement in case of medical bills. So that is reimbursement. You have to write the full thing whenever you are solving the examination. I am writing the short values and short name for that. 6,500 rupees per month. Then Sahil was provided, the question says, Sahil was provided a laptop for official and personal use. Laptop was acquired by the company on 1st June 2021 at 35000. So taxability for mobile asset, if it has been given to employee for use, whether it's for personal and official, has been dealt and for the purpose of laptop or computer, the taxable value will be remain nil. So laptop tax value will remain nil. For car provision, there is a separate concept, and for other asset, that is 10% per month. But for the purpose of laptop, etc., it is non-taxable. A domestic servant at a monthly salary of 8,000, which was reimbursed by the employer. That is a perquisite. That is an obligation of employee met by employer because it's a domestic servant. So that is for personal purpose, and salary is paid by the employer. So that is a perquisite of servant. That is going to be taxable, 96,000. The next point is Fox Limited allotted 700 equity shares in the month of October 2023 at 170 rupees per share against the market value of 280 per share. So if you are receiving any shares of that company at a lower value, then the difference is going to be a perquisite. So shares perquisite value, that is difference is 280 minus 170. That means 110 rupees for 700 equity share. That will be 77,000. Clear? Next is Okay, the last is professional tax. The provision says the professional tax that was 2,200 rupees, out of which 1,400 was paid by the employer. So professional tax which has been paid by employer, again it's a perquisite of professional tax that is going to be taxable. It is 1,400 rupees. So this is our taxable value, and the total value, a gross salary, will be 1016900, out of which we can claim the deduction, and only one deduction can be claimed, that is standard deduction of 50,000. We cannot claim the professional tax deduction in this case because we are solving it as per section 15 BAC, that means default tax regime. So taxable salary or salary chargeable to tax will be 966,900. We have taken 6 lakhs in basic salary, then our DA, then our bonus, then our fixed medical allowance, then 6,500 was reimbursement, then 96,000 was perquisite value, then 77,000 is a perquisite value, and then 1,400. So that will be my gross salary. And after that, this is my standard deduction, and that is my net salary. So, Manishji, I guess you can unmute the students for query session. It's already. Okay, so students, you can ask your query regarding the topic, whatever you want.
Yeah, students, one by one, you can raise your query by raising your hand. Then sir will announce your name to us.
Gayatri, want to ask something? Please go ahead.
Sir, in page number 3.60.
Page number of study material or the notes?
Study material, sir.
Study material. Just a second. Page number
3.60, sir.
3.60. What is the query exactly, Vesa?
Sir, in that note, they have given interest, sir. I could not understand that.
Just a second. Okay, 3.6058. So illustration number 10, you are asking?
Yes, sir, in this note.
This note,
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
This note says interest on the aggregate of following will also be chargeable to tax during assessment year 23-24. So whatever the excess contribution made by employee in the previous question, that was 2021 and 22, the excess was 2,03,600 over 7,50,000. So whatever extra contribution made by employee, we have to calculate the interest upon it, but we have not given the interest rate in the question. So if the interest rate will be given, then that interest need to be calculated on this, and that is again going to be taxable. First point. Second case, the 5,27,600, the contribution exceeding 2,50,000. In the first case, this is for previous year 21-22. 2,50,000 exceeding contribution was 2,03,600. Interest on that value need to be computed. And for previous year 22-23, on 5,27,600, we need to calculate the interest. Fine. The third point is very interesting. Now it says whatever interest you have calculated on point number 1, like first point was 2,03,600. Suppose the interest rate is 10%. So the interest for first point was 20,360. So that is going to be taxable perquisite calculation. And on that 10% value, that is 20,360. Again, we need to calculate the interest accrued on that interest. So that will be compounding interest. For example, suppose interest on this value has been calculated, suppose 10,000. So that is a taxable perquisite. And the third point says, whatever interest has been calculated on this again interest need to be calculated because it's a compounding interest for second year also. So that was for 21-22, and you have to calculate the interest on this interest again. So in the question, the interest has not been given. So you have to do this calculation, and you can see in the same question, if you will going further, you can see in this point now. Now the first point says you have to calculate for assessment year 24-25 on 2,03,600. You calculate interest, then 527, then 527. Now fourth and fifth point again same. Now it says whatever interest you have taxable in point number 1. Now you have to calculate interest on this point again, and whatever you have calculated on 5,27,600 in point number 2. On that interest, you again need to calculate the interest for the purpose of taxability. Okay.
Thank you, sir. I have another doubt, sir.
Yes, please go
That
ahead.
is relief under 89, sir.
Page number?
Relief, sir. Relief under
Relief.
89.
Okay, okay.
In that last 2 points you didn't explain in the last class, that recorded lesson.
Page number, you can tell me what is? You have not downloaded the notes I have uploaded on the portal?
In that only 1 point, sir,
If you will download the notes in which I have explained with the help of an example.
Page number 1.5, sir. 105.
105. Okay, this one. Yes. What do you want to ask?
Second point and third point, sir.
Okay. Like relief has been given, that means anything, any taxability on the basis of advance salary or arrear of salary. So we can calculate the difference of tax. That is point number 1. Now on account of family pension, similar tax relief is extended to assessee who receive arrear of family pension as defined in explanation to clause number 2A of section 57. Now what is the meaning of family pension? That is from income from other source. So you have to read the income from other source to understand the meaning of family pension and how to calculate the relief in this case exactly as the way what we calculate in case of arrear of salary. So if any assessee receive any arrear of family pension, then you have to calculate the relief as per point number 1 also. But family pension means regularly monthly payable by the employer to a person belonging to the family of an employee in the event of his death. So in that case, family pension received by the family member of employee. And in that case, there is an exemption also. That is 1/3 of the family pension or 15,000, whichever is lower. That has been explained in income from other source, the last chapter. But relief you can claim as per the above provision. In case of voluntarily retirement or termination of service, it says if you leave the job yourself or you has been terminated, in that case, you cannot get the relief of section 89(1). Relief is available in case of arrear, advance salary or family pension case. Rashmi, you want to ask something? Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Rashmi?
Sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, I was going through your notes.
Okay.
In that commutation of pension.
Okay.
So you have given a formula for commuted value. That formula, because what I understood is that if there is a gratuity, you get 1/3 exemption. If there is no gratuity, you get 1/2, half of it is exemption.
Absolutely, absolutely correct.
But then there is after that there is a note you have given commuted value of pension. I was searching the net also. I couldn't understand that formula. Please can.
Okay, just give me a minute. Look, what is the meaning of commuted value of pension? That means I have given you the formula to calculate the total pension value. What is happening over here? Let me explain you. Suppose your pension is 10,000 per month.
Okay.
You are receiving 10,000 per month every month from suppose 1st January 2024 as you have retired in December 23. So your employer says you will get 10,000 per month as a pension. So that is uncommuted part that is going to be taxable. But what happened in January? You received 10,000, that is going to be taxable. In February, you get 10,000, that is going to be taxable. But in March, on 1st March, you decided, you asked your employer that please pay me 75% of this value in lump sum today. I need more money. I do not want to wait for 10,000 per month. There is some requirement in my family. I need a lump sum amount. So you ask to your employer that please provide me 75%, 60%, 50% or any kind of percentage of this pension amount lump sum. Suppose in our question, we have asked for 75%. Your employer calculate your whole pension, that your whole pension value, whatever it is, the 75% will be, he say that will be 7,50,000. Suppose. So he has provided you 75% of your total pension. That is rupees 7,50,000. Now this formula says, because the exemption based on 1/3 or 1/2, whatever exemption it is based on the commuted value of, you can see, commuted value of whole pension, not the pension you received in lump sum. The word is whole pension. So if I received 75%, which is 7,50,000 as received right now, but I need to calculate the total pension amount I would be eligible. So because 7,50,000 is equivalent to 75%. So to find out the commuted value of whole pension, what we need to do? 7,50,000 divided by 75 into 100. So you will get your total pension value, which is 10 lakh rupees. So on the basis of this 10 lakh, we need to calculate the exemption. So because we need to calculate the exemption on the basis of commuted value of whole pension. So we need to put this formula. It's a kind of a simple formula which have been gone through in 4th or 5th class in our syllabus, of course, schools. So we will find out the total commuted value of pension. On the basis of this, you need to calculate the exemption. Now, one more important thing, because you have taken 75% in lump sum of this 10,000, which is an aggregate is 7,50,000. So from March onward, now you will receive only 25% of this 10,000 because you have already taken the 75% portion in lump sum. So from March, you will get only 2,500 rupees as commuted value, as uncommuted value of pension. Clear?
Sir, then that formula, that is commuted value divided by percentage received as commuted part into 100 is okay. But in that formula, there is a first element is pension received. What is that?
Pension received.
Sir, in that formula, in that note.
Just a minute. No, that is pension received. That is 7,50,000, which has been received as a commuted value, not the total value.
That means the numerator is only 7,50,000.
Yes. Thus, whatever you have received as a percentage, that is 7,50,000. That is the total pension, that part which has been received in lump sum. So that is 7,50,000. And how much it is? It is equivalent to 75%. So I will get the total pension value if I apply that formula, which I need to calculate the exemption.
So that term created the confusion, sir.
Then no, that actually it's like a simple provision. We just need to calculate the total pension value. So we need to apply this provision. Otherwise, that is automatically we can find it out normally also on a calculator. We do not need this kind of formula at this level, of course. So it's just for the benefit of students.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Welcome. Any more questions? Anyone? Yuna is asking, sir, I can't find the notes in the portal under the BOS live learning classes. The download notes part only has audit notes. No, you have to select the, I guess, faculty and प्लीज चैट बॉक्स में मनीष जी वो लिंक डाल दीजिएगा जहां से बच्चे टैक्स के नोट्स कर सकें. बच्चे मुझसे पूछ रहे हैं तो ओके. एनी मोर क्वेरी? Okay, Sahil Banerjee is asking, sir, if an SSC stays 6 months in Delhi and 6 months in Noida in rented house, how we will compute the HRA exemption mainly for 50% or 40% of salary criteria for exemption? Sahil, I believe कि आपने शायद पुराने notes नहीं देखे, lectures पुराने. So we have discussed this point in the lectures also with the example also. In your test your knowledge part of salary, test your knowledge question series, question number 1, in which this kind of problem has been discussed also. And even HRA provision, if you have gone through in detail in the video or lectures previously uploaded, you will find out your answer. In that case, 6 months calculation will be separate and balance 6 months calculation of HRA will be separate. So separate calculation need to be done. For Delhi time duration, we need to take 50% for those 6 months. And for Noida, we need to take 40% for those. Yes, somebody is asking, we have to refer previous batch section for notes. Look, for examination purpose, assessment year 24-25 is applicable for your examination also. So those notes are for assessment year 24-25. You can go through with those notes, not an issue. Any more queries, students? Is rent-free concept is not in book? Which book you are talking? I guess Rashmi is asking, sir, repeated leave encashment MCQ 9. Students, we are on a YouTube, of course, lecture. You can scroll back and what we have discussed in MCQ 9, you can go through it again and you can see the correct solution for it. Any more query? If there is no more query, then I will moving forward to the next question or the MCQ we have left. लिंक फॉर द नोट्स सुनील आपको अभी चैट बॉक्स में सर डाल देंगे, वहां से आप लिंक पे जाके नोट्स डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं. ओके, so let me take MCQs what we have left. 2 or 3 MCQs was there. So if there's any query, you can ask me. You can raise your hand, or you are unmute, of course, so you can ask any query whenever you want till our class is continue. So we have discussed the last MCQ, that was 9 we have discussed. Now moving on to MCQ number 10, that is for leave encashment. And it says Mr. A received 10 lakh for encashment of leave after serving 32 years of service. He got 25 days leave every year. Leave availed was 500 days. AMS rupees 15,000 per month. So in that scenario, we have to calculate the amount received as leave encashment, that was 10 lakh. Then the fixed limit we have 25 lakh. Amendment in HRA नहीं समझ आया. प्रीति वर्मा is saying, प्रीति वर्मा HRA में amendment नहीं है, रेंट फ्री हाउस में है. और रेंट फ्री हाउस के अभी हम 3 MCQ डिस्कस करेंगे, देन उसमें आपकी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो जाएगी. ओके, so that is 10 lakh, then 25 lakh rupees, then the third is 10 into AMS, which has been given 15,000 per month. So that means that will come to 1,50,000. And the fourth is very important. I have told you earlier also, that is leave earn minus leave avail into AMS upon 30. So in the question, whenever we calculate leave earned, that is actual leave, that is 25 days, or 30, which has been fixed by the department or the act, whichever is lower. So in that question, lower is 25. So leave earned will be 25 into 32 year of service. And leave avail has been given in this question, that is 500 into AMS upon 30, that is AMS 15,000 upon 30. So that will come to 1,50,000. So exemption will be 1,50,000. Out of this 10 lakh, 1,50,000 will be exempted and the balance 850 will be taxable. So the correct answer is option number C. Next is Rakesh received. Now this is a rent-free provision. So if any one of you thinking what is the change in the rent-free house provision or concept, that we are going to discuss over here. Rakesh received 25,000 per month as basic salary from ABC Limited. He's also provided dearness allowance 10,000 per month, and that is again forming part of retirement benefit. So as per terms of employment, and has been provided rent-free accommodation in Alwar, where a population is 12 lakh, which is owned by the owner. So the concept says House is owned by the owner. Clear? Population is relevant for me. This basic salary and DA is relevant for me. Of course, the market rent has been given 5,000. So market rent does not have any impact on this question because rent paid should be given. Some student got confused that because the market rent, fair rent, etc. has been given in the question, so that means it's a case of rental property. No, do not understood this information wrongly. Until in the question it has been given that the rent paid by the employer, rent bear by the employer, rent reimbursed by the employer, you will take that provision as properties owned by employer. Until it has been given the question that rent has been paid by employer, you cannot assume it as an on rental. So market rent, fair rent, rental value can be given in question to just make you confused. So just ignore this provision. We do not consider that. The taxable value for rent-free accommodation we need to calculate. Now we have to calculate for 5 months and 7 months, like up to August, and then from September to March. Clear? We have to calculate the value. This is 10% we will take because the population is 12 lakh, and for this scenario we need to take the 5%. Now we need to take the salary. Salary is 35,000. The monetary salary, which includes basic and DA because it is as per terms of employment. So 35,000, 10%, 3,500 for 5 months. That will 17,500. And for this purpose, again, the salary will be same, 35,000, 5%, and that is for 7 months. So that will come 12250. Total taxable value will be 29,750. Clear? This is the way we need to solve these kind of question. One more rent-free house question is there. Chavi received 25,000 per month as basic salary from ABC Limited. She also received DA of 15,000 per month, forming part of the retirement benefit. Again, this DA going to be considered for the purpose of salary and has been provided rent-free accommodation, which is taken on rent. Now the provision has been specifically say that it is on rent. Now we can compare the rent paid or the value, whichever is lower. In Delhi, population need to take exceeding 25 lakh. The employer has paid monthly rent of 10,000. Taxable value need to calculate. Again, we have to solve in 2 parts, for 5 months separate and for 7 months separate. For 5 months, the tax value will be 15% per month or rent paid, whichever is lower. For 7 months, we need to take 10% per month or rent paid, whichever is lower. Clear? Now we need to calculate the salary. The salary will be 40,000, 25,000 plus 15,000. So 40,000, 15%. That is 6,000 per month or 10,000, whichever is lower. So lower will be 6,000. For 5 months, the value will be 30,000. For this 10% per month of 40,000, that will be 4,000 or 10,000. Lower will be 4,000. So that will be for 7 months. That means 28,000. Total rent-free house value will be 58,000. That is option number C. Clear? So those were the rent-free house provision. Next is now the car provision. This is one of my favorite provision because the car concept is really interesting. It's huge also. Let me tell you, I have also uploaded the charts, the chart presentation for almost all the provision of salary, house property, PGBP, capital gain, etc. The chart is also on the portal. You can download it from the portal from where the notes have been uploaded. And that is really going to help you for understanding the provision in an easy way or to revise them in a very speedy way. Okay. So now the car provision. The car provision is very, we can say, having permutation and combination. Like you have to find out first. Let me tell you how to find out the correct case of the car perquisitor. First of all, you need to see who owns the car. Whether car is owned by the employee. If it is owned by employee, the perk is taxable for all employees. If it is owned by employer, owned or on rent by employee, that is only taxable in the hands of a specified employee. Then when the car is owned by employee, we have to see the who is actually bearing the expenses of maintenance of car, whether the employee is bearing the expenses of car or the employer is bearing the expenses of car. And again, in the same case, who is bearing the expenses of the car? So there is 4 cases technically. Now it's a very logical provision. Technically, students think car perquisite provisions are very difficult because it has multiple provision, almost 12 or 13 or 14 cases you have to remember. You have to find it out that in the question which case is applicable, then you need to calculate the perquisite taxability. So the amount of cases involved in the car perquisite technically make it very messy, but technically it's not like this. If you understand the provision clearly, you just need to find out the correct case. So first of all, you have to see whether the car is owned by employee or employer. If it is owned by employee, then we have to solve with these cases. If it is owned by employer, then we have to solve it by these cases. So first of all, you have to find who owned the car. The first case, you have to find it out. Then the second thing you need to check who bear the expense, whether it's employee or it's employer. If car is owned by employee, expenses met by employee, then there is no perquisite. Perk means my personal expenditure paid by employer. So if car is mine, expenses is mine, where is the benefit? There is no benefit. So there is no perquisite. Clear? So if car is owned by employee and expenses met by employer, now understand what is the perk, car or the expense. The benefit is expense because car is owned by myself. So now we have 3 cases. If car is used for 100% official purpose, always nil, no taxability. If it is for private purpose, 100% taxable, whatever the actual amount paid by employer. If it is both, then we have a specific provision as we have discussed in the car perquisite. It's in detail. Same in the case when car is owned by employer and expenses met by employee. Now you can see because expenses met by employee, so we need to taxable the car value. Because expenses if I met, then what we need to taxable? We need to taxable the car perquisite. We have again 3 cases, official, private and both. Official always nil. We have separate provision for that. Now this is the interesting concept which says car is owned by employer, expenses paid by employer. Everything has been paid by employer. So this is the case in which we have to taxable car value as well as expenses value. So again 3 cases, official, private and both. We have separate provision. Official there is nil. We have to calculate these values. So in the question, first of all, we have to find out that my question is falling in which category. If you are able to find the correct category, you are able to find the correct case, the correct amount. Let me tell you, I have uploaded the chart of car perquisite also. You can download it, take a printout of it, paste in front of your wall and just look at it 3-4 days. Even if you are going to look at it, it will be automatically stick into your brain, into your mind. You will automatically going to remember all the cases in only one go. So now, first of all, I need to find out which case does it fall. So employer provides a car. So this first case has gone away. We just need to focus on the second case. Car is provided by the employer. Capacity is 1.6 liter below. So that 1800, 2400, that case. Along with a driver also there. So driver salary, 900 rupees, or as the case may be. Partly official, partly. So you can see the car is owned by employer and also expenses paid by employer. And car is used for official and personal purpose both. So this provision is applicable. This part is applicable. Now this part says that if your car is up to a certain value, liter capacity, then a certain amount plus driver salary is going to be fixed taxable. That is because it is less than 1.6 liter. The other informations are now irrelevant because this is a fixed case. If the case fall in this category, nothing else going to be taxable. Running and maintenance expense, this all information is just to confuse you. So we can only solve by the help of this 1.6 liter capacity. So 1800 rupees for the car purpose plus driver no 900 into 12. That is going to be taxable. That is C case 32,400. So car perquisite, in my opinion, one of the most easiest perquisite. because we just need to find out the correct case. Who is owned the car? Who is doing the expenditure? And for what purpose is going to be used? If you find out these three cases, then you automatically going to remember which amount I need to make it taxable. Like the next case, Mr. Gupta is given a motor car with chauffeur, that means driver, by the employer. Again, Mr. Gupta is given a motor car. So car is owned by employer again with driver. Okay. Which is used for both official and personal purpose. Entire running expense of car amounting to was met by the employer. So again, car employer ki, kharche employer ke, and used for all purpose. Last case, again that 1800, 2400 plus 900 driver. Exceeding 1.6 liters. So 1600 cc or 1.6 liter is same. So that means 2400 plus 900 into 12. So that will be, I guess, 3900. 1600. That will be the case. 15 MCQ number is very, very important. It's a very different kind of medical facility provision. I have discussed in the previous lecture that Himalaya Limited reimbursed the following expenditure on medical treatment of son of an employee. Karan, the treatment was done at UK. That means medical expenditure has done outside India. So that is the case. In that case, the provision says whatever expenditure has been done on travel for the patient plus one attendant, on stay of patient plus one attendant, and treatment of patient, that is going to be exempted up to RBI limit. X is going to be taxable. So you can see in this question, if you see the traveling expenses that is given in question is 115. Nothing is given, that we will assume that 100% exempted. The stay expenditure has been given. Total that was 70,000, but 45,000 has been approved by RBI. So out of that 70,000, 45 exempt, that means 25,000 will be taxable value of medical perquisite. And in case of medical treatment, it says 50,000 was exempted, approved by RBI out of 70,000. So that means 20,000 is taxable for this perquisite. So total taxability. Okay, Sunil Kumar, you can ask your query. Just give me a minute, then you can ask it. Let me complete this MCQ. So that was 45,000 is going to be taxable on the basis of this medical perquisite. Clear? Now the question, the medical facility provision says if your GTI exceeding 2 lakh rupees. So the question says your GTI is 156 before including the above perquisite. So if I include the taxability of above perquisite, that comes 45,000. So that means it will exceed 2 lakh rupees. Now GTI will be this because this is 1,50,000 net salary after standard deduction has been given. So 2,01,000 is my gross salary, or sorry, GTI, gross total income. So if your GTI exceeding 2 lakh rupees, then the provision says your traveling expenses which have been exempted earlier is going to be taxable again. So now 1,15,000 is going to be taxable as a medical perquisite, and 45,000 was already taxable as a medical perquisite. So total taxability of medical perquisite will be 1,60,000, which is point number B. That is going to be taxable value of medical perquisite. And in this case, your GTI will also increase by 1,15,000. Earlier it was 2,01,000. Now 1,15,000 will add in it. So that will be 3,16,000 will be my GTI. Yes, Sunil, what you were asking? Go ahead. Any query? सर ने चैट बॉक्स में डाल दिया है कि नोट्स आप कहां से डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं, तो प्लीज आप डाउनलोड वहां से कर सकते हैं. वैसे आई हैव सीन दैट आप BOS के नॉलेज पोर्टल पे जाएंगे, वहां अपने CRO नंबर से लॉगिन करेंगे. लॉगिन करने के बाद वहां पर वीडियोस, नोट्स सब कुछ है. वहां फैकल्टी का नाम आपको डालना होगा जिसके नोट्स आपको चाहिए, तो उनके सारे नोट्स आपको सीरियल वाइज नंबर से मिल जाते हैं. ओके. If there is no more queries, okay, Satyan is asking, Sir, could you please explain the GTI part once again? Do not ask this question. Okay, fine. So let me explain for your benefit. The GTI part says, look, it says if your GTI exceeding 2 lakh rupees. So if it is up to 2 lakh rupees, that is not going to be applicable. The other student asked me. So if it is exceeding 2 lakh rupees, then only this provision will be applicable. So because in this question, 1,56,000 was the taxable salary. So no other income was there. So we are assuming that 156 was my income from the head of salary. And because this 156 has been given before including the medical perquisite taxable value, which is now 45,000. So now the GTI will be salary 156 plus 45,000 as going to be taxable as a medical perquisite taxable. So it will be now 2,01,000. And the provision says the GTI exceeding 2 lakh rupees, then the traveling expenditure is going to be fully taxable, whatever has been exempted. So now 1,15,000 is going to be taxable again. And now because total perquisite value will be 2,60,000. So now if the revised GTI is asking the question, so that will be 156 plus 160. That will be my revised GTI. So you can add 156 plus 1,60,000. So that will be my revised GTI. Okay. Any more query? So Manish, I guess there is no more query. I have completed my session, so we can log out. Thank you, Manish. Thank you so much.